Open your eyes, and the world seems to simply appear. We tend to think our eyes work like camera lenses, passively recording the room, the street, or the crowd, and delivering a perfectly objective feed directly to the mind. But cognitive science paints a stranger picture. Your brain is trapped in a dark, silent skull. To build the reality you experience, it has to actively construct a best guess using a massive flood of ambiguous electrical signals coming from your sensory hardware. This mechanism is called predictive processing. Instead of waiting for sensory information to arrive, your brain generates constant expectations based on your past experiences, your culture, and your biology, projecting those assumptions forward to anticipate what will happen next. That means the reality you encounter right now is not a raw copy of the physical environment. You perceive the world heavily filtered through what you have already learned to expect. Because your survival depends on these predictive models, your nervous system does not like ambiguity. When the brain encounters an unresolved situation, it experiences that uncertainty as a biological threat. Psychologists call this the need for cognitive closure. It is a biological pressure to reach a firm conclusion quickly, simply to stop the exhausting tension of not knowing. This pressure spikes during moments of fear or collective trauma. In a chaotic environment, a frightened nervous system will heavily weight threatening predictions over neutral ones. Missing a danger is deadly, so the brain learns that it is safer to see threats everywhere. To relieve the immense burden of processing all that chaotic data, the mind forces reality into rigid, binary categories. Things are either good or evil, true or false, right or wrong. Research on cognitive closure suggests that under these high-stress conditions, the brain prioritizes speed and closure over accuracy. We reach for the first available answer because the relief of being certain outweighs the messy, difficult work of being right. The moment we lock into one of those binary answers, the stakes escalate. We weave that specific conclusion into our moral identity and our social belonging. A process known as identity protective cognition takes over. When new evidence surfaces that contradicts the chosen side, the brain doesn't evaluate it logically. It actively ignores, rejects, or discredits the information to protect the group. We end up in a self-reinforcing loop. The mind notices only the details that confirm its established worldview, effectively immunizing itself against new facts, because learning would require sacrificing safety and belonging. The very mechanism that evolved to help us navigate a chaotic environment ultimately walls us off from it. Binary logic is highly useful for basic human survival, like deciding whether a shadow is a predator or a rock. But when we apply that rigid either-or framework to the subatomic world, the universe stops cooperating. At the turn of the 20th century, physicists discovered that classical mechanics completely failed to explain the behavior of atoms. The strict categories they relied on were suddenly inadequate. Look at how light behaves in quantum experiments. Under one measurement, light produces the interference pattern of a continuous wave. Under a different measurement, it registers as a scatter of distinct impacts, acting as particles. The physicist Niels Bohr called this complementarity. The wave and particle descriptions are classically incompatible. You cannot visualize both simultaneously, yet both are necessary to capture the whole reality of light. Long before the birth of quantum mechanics, other traditions were already mapping this exact logical limit. The Buddhist doctrine of the two truths addresses the world with a similar framework. In this view, there is a conventional truth and an ultimate truth. Conventionally, you function as an independent, solid person with a specific name. But ultimately, you are an interdependent, ever-changing process without a fixed permanent center. These are not failures of logic. When we encounter these deep paradoxes, they serve as evidence that our mental categories are simply too small for the reality we are facing. Accepting that reality requires opposing descriptions does not mean abandoning logic. It doesn't mean rejecting facts or believing that all opinions are equally true. A formal contradiction still applies. Two exact opposites cannot be true simultaneously if they are operating in the exact same context. Navigating this requires the discipline of contradiction. Instead of lazily accepting two opposing statements, you have to find the hidden context, or the different level of reality where both truths can operate. Firm, direct tone. Intellectual maturity means refusing to let the emotional relief of a simple binary answer replace the difficult work of accurate evaluation. This leads us to a specific kind of intellectual confidence. It is not rigid certainty. It is a practice called epistemic humility. Practicing epistemic humility means strictly calibrating your confidence to the available evidence, while remaining completely open to the possibility that future information will require you to revise your view. To actually do this, you have to develop the emotional tolerance to stand in the uncomfortable, unresolved space between two opposing truths, without panicking and grabbing the first easy answer. Reality is rarely isolated to one simple category. Expanding the mind to hold these contradictory pieces together makes it possible to see the larger picture.
Thank you for watching. If something in this resonated with you, then you're already closer than you think. If you're ready to go deeper, there's a link below to my book, Nothing is Only One Thing: Quantum Reality, Buddhist Emptiness, and the Mystery Beneath Appearances. This isn't theory. It's a framework you can actually use. Tap the link below and step into it.